Welcome to Brother Miller's Book of Mormon Notes. Today we're going to talk about 1 Nephi, chapters 8, 9, and 10, and start off with Lehi's vision of the tree of life. Now, I'm not quite sure the way the tree looks. I know the way it's described. You got some really white fruit, and this is the way the church has it in their videos, and actually I think it looks pretty good. To introduce this with my classes, I found it's really fun for them to draw it. Draw, for me, so maybe if you're doing this in your home, have each family member draw the vision of the tree of life. If you have younger kids, you may have to explain it a little bit. If you have teenagers, they probably have heard this vision before, and just let them draw it. They may get some things in it, they might not. It's kind of fun to do with adults, too. Go ahead and draw it. You got 2 minutes. You can't have these masterpieces, even though some of them will look like masterpieces after 2 minutes. And then they have the basics down. Just invite them. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple pictures of what other artists have drawn or, in their vision or their drawing of the vision of the tree of life. Now, I may start off with maybe even the video that the church has made of Father Lehigh and his experience with the tree of life. But if you look at other artists who have taken tremendous amounts of time to draw great pictures, their details are fantastic, but each artist emphasizes something a little different. For some, they may emphasize there's lots of other people on lots of different paths. For some, they may look at kind of the expanse of the vision. Others, it's maybe, okay, here's your focus is the tree of life. Sometimes the focus is on the great and spacious building or the mists of darkness. Some people have drawings that I would never think of, but I think this is one of my favorites because it's just so unique and so wonderful. Sometimes the emphasis is on the tree of life or someone's sharing the fruit of the tree of life, the love of God. Others, there may be a 50-50 split. Hey, here's the tree of life. Here's maybe great and spacious building and forbidden paths. It doesn't matter how they draw it or what they emphasize. It's fun to get those different perspectives of what people see in the vision of the tree of life and how for them there is the focus of the tree of life and the distractions of the great and spacious buildings. Now at this point, what I want to try and do is make it a little bit more of a deep learning experience. They have their picture, it's looking great, and then I ask them, will you draw you in the vision? Because really, you're there. You may think, okay, this is Lehi's vision, but where would you put you? And I have students every class where they'll put in I'm right here at the tree of life. They'll have a friend right there at tree of life offering the fruit to someone else. They may have their mom or dad or their grandma and grandpa at the tree of life because I say, draw your family there too. And sometimes they're not on the path. Sometimes they've let go of the tree of the rod of iron. Sometimes they'll have one hand on the iron rod and one hand kind of off looking in another direction. Their shoulders are pointed a different direction. And it's a great opportunity to maybe draw some of those things on the board yourself. What would this mean if someone was looking like this? Their shoulders are looking in the other direction. They're not headed towards the tree of life, but they're looking towards the great and spacious building. One of Elder Packer's great quotes for me is, you may think that Lehi's dream or vision has no special meaning for you, but it does. You are in it. All of us are in it. Lehi's dream or vision of the iron rod has in it everything a Latter-day Saint needs to understand the tests of life. Then I would stop for a minute and say, okay, tell us about the tests. How does the tree of life relate to your tests of your life today? That may be a great opportunity just to talk about their lives and their progress today. Another thing you could do as you're there is ask them what symbol or aspect of the dream would help you come closer to Christ. The tree of life is the love of God. The love of God for his children is most profoundly expressed in his gift of Jesus Christ as our Redeemer. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. To partake of the love of God is to partake of Jesus' atonement and the emancipations or freedom from restraint or sin and joys which it can bring. It may be just good to pause and say, when was the last time you felt God's love? What did it feel like? Who can you share God's love with today? Who in your life can you say, hey, let me help you taste of that? Because today, one of the beauties of this dream is it teaches that you can taste God's love today. Now, I drew this. I am not an artist. But here's one of the things that I draw with mine. There's a tree, and there's my rod of iron. And if you're chuckling right now, yeah, well, that's the way I draw. I mean, there's me, as you can tell, bald head. And for me, one of the great things I've learned about this, and this is just for me personally, there is a price that I paid today so I can feel the prize of the love of God in my heart. The price for me today is to spend a few minutes connecting with God through the Scriptures. The prize is that I feel God's love in my heart today. I need to hold on. Today, not let go. I just love this dream. I think it's just awesome. And by the way, I think the church did a wonderful job on their video. But once again, we can taste God's love today. Elder Packer said in the same talk, finding ourselves in Lehigh's dream, at your baptism and confirmation, you took hold of the iron rod, but you are never saved. It is after you have partaken of that fruit that your test will come. So another thing you could add as you're teaching this is, if the test is going to come, what am I going to do today that helps me keep a hold of the iron rod? Sometimes you've probably done this. Well, okay, is there something I need to start? Something I need to stop? Something I need to continue? To taste of God's love in my life today. That start, stop, continue at times can be very powerful as you're trying to apply what you're learning in the Scriptures and the tree of life. Now I'm going to add one other thing, and I'm going to kind of read this kind of quickly. But Joseph Smith Sr. gives an incredible account of a vision he was able to see. Lucy Mack records it. So according to Lucy Mack, Joseph Smith Sr., the father of the prophet, had the following dream in 1811. When the family was living in Lebanon, New Hampshire, Joseph Smith Jr. would have been 5 years old at the time. Quote, I thought I was traveling in an open, desolate field, which appeared to be very barren. As I was thus traveling, the thought suddenly came into my mind that I'd better stop and reflect upon what I was doing before I went any further. So I asked myself, what motive can I have in traveling here, and what place can this be? My guide, who was by my side, as before, said, this is the desolate world, but travel on. The road was so broad and barren that I wondered why I should travel in it. For, said I to myself, broad is the road and wide is the gate that leads to death, and many there be that walk therein, but narrow is the way, and strait is the gate that leads to everlasting life, and few there be that go in thereat. Traveling a short distance further, I came to a narrow path. This path I entered, and, when I had traveled a little way in it, I beheld a beautiful stream of water which ran from the east to the west. Of this stream I could see neither the source nor yet the termination, but as far as my eyes could extend, I could see a rope running along the bank of it, about as high as a man could reach, and beyond me was a low, but very pleasant valley, in which stood a tree, such as I'd never seen before. It was exceedingly handsome, inasmuch as I looked upon it with wonder and admiration. Its beautiful branches spread themselves, somewhat like an umbrella, and it bore a kind of fruit, in shape much like a chestnut burr, as white as snow, or, if possible, whiter. I gazed upon the same with considerable interest. As I was doing so, the burrs or shells commenced opening and shedding their particles, or the fruit which they contained, which was of dazzling whiteness. I drew near and began to eat of it. I found it delicious beyond description, As I was eating, I said in my heart, I cannot eat this alone. I must bring my wife and children, that they may partake with me. Accordingly, I went and brought my family, which consisted of a wife and 7 children, and we all commenced eating and praising God for this blessing. We were exceedingly happy, insomuch that our joy could not easily be expressed. While we were thus engaged, I beheld a spacious building standing opposite to the valley which we were in. It appeared to reach to the very heavens. It was full of doors and windows, and they were filled with people, who were very finely dressed. When these people observed us in the little valley, under the tree, they pointed the finger of scorn at us, and treated us with all manner of disrespect and contempt. But their contumely we utterly disregarded. I presently turned to my guide, and inquired of him the meaning of the fruit that was so delicious. He told me it was a pure love of God, shed abroad in the hearts of all those who love him, and keep his commandments. He then commanded me to go and bring the rest of my children. I told him that we were all here. No, he replied, look yonder. You have 2 more, and you must bring them also. Upon raising my eyes, I saw 2 small children standing some distance off. I immediately went to them and brought them to the tree, upon which they were commenced eating with the rest. And we all rejoiced together. The more we ate, the more we seemed to desire, until we even got down upon our knees and scooped it up, eating by double handfuls. After feasting in this manner a short time, I asked my guide, what was the meaning of the spacious building which I saw? He replied, it is Babylon. It is Babylon, and it must fall. The people in the doors and windows are the inhabitants thereof, who scorn and despise the saints of God because of their humility. I soon awoke, clapping my hands with joy. I also add the Tree of Life motif has been around a long time. You'll find it in a lot of different, I'd call it ancient art. Whether it's Mesoamerican, I think this is the site of Izapa. That's in Chiapas, Mexico, along the present-day border of Guatemala, as this is found. This one, just so you know, is, I wrote it down there, 8 feet 4 inches high, 5 feet wide, 2 feet thick, and 15 tons. This is an artist's rendition of it, wherein you can look at it and you can say, okay, look, Tree of Life, these are angels. And you start looking, oh wow, filthy water, and you're seeing every aspect, the iron rod, the headdress, which is probably looking like it's going to be that of a princess. You have a jawbone, which is Lehigh. That's kind of what the word Lehigh is meaning. Then you have Laman and Lemuel. They're by the rod, but they're by the Tree of Life, but they're looking away. They do not have interest to partake. And Sam, got to have Sam there. You have somebody who's recording or witnessing it, okay, which is really kind of cool. You have the 12 roots. Oh, I went too far of life. Any rate, it is just fascinating to look at how this corresponds and ties so much into the Tree of Life. Now, chapter 9, one of the things that I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I just try and explain. Here's the plates. You got the big sets of plates, the small sets of plates. But in verse 5 of chapter 9, I explained to them, Nephi makes a second set. And sometimes we'll do the 10 plates. You know, it's kind of fun. You get a piece of cardboard and you wrap it with tin foil, and then you have them kind of write, and you have them write a little story, and then you say, oh, by the way, you need to write it again. And then they start writing again, and a lot of times they'll start, I don't want to do this. This takes so much time. And then you read verse 5, wherefore the Lord hath commanded me, this is Nephi, to make these plates for wise purpose in him, which purpose I know not. I'm making this duplicate record. Okay, I know the big plates are going to have the kind of more of the kings and kind of the history, and the small plates the more of the gospel. And I don't know why I'm doing it. And sometimes we want to know why. And sometimes the Lord doesn't tell us why we do things. Okay? And then just kind of a situational thing. Think about a sacrament meeting where 3 individuals go to sacrament meeting together. One young man is, you can see, quite not happy there. Well, sleeping, bored. Others are an incredible experience. And they're feeling the Spirit. And I had a day where there was a meeting where, for me, it was like, oh, that wasn't that great. I didn't say that. But as a friend caught me, or I talked to him as we were leaving, I said, oh, how are you doing? He goes, that was the best sacrament meeting I've been to in years. And I realized the issue was not the speaker. The issue was me. What do you do if you find yourself caught in a boring sacrament meeting? President Kimball thought for a moment when he was asked and replied, I don't know. I've never been in one. With his long years of church experience, President Kimball had undoubtedly been to many meetings where people had read their talks, spoken in a monotone, or even given travelogues instead of teaching doctrine. But most likely, President Kimball was teaching what he did not go to sacrament meeting to be entertained. He went to worship the Lord, renew his covenants, to be taught from on high. If he attended with an open heart, a desire to be nourished by the good word of God, and a prayer, rather than judgment for the speakers, the Spirit would teach him what he needed to do to be more effective and faithful disciple. President Kimball was teaching the principle of learning by the Spirit. And that is chapter 10. Father Lehigh's learned by the Spirit. Laman Lemuel, maybe not. But Nephi, in chapter 10, desires to know. He is believing. He's pondering what his fathers taught and wants to know himself. We've been invited by prophets, ancient and modern, to do the same. Recently, President Nelson said this: follow the example of the prophet Joseph Smith. Find a quiet place where you can regularly go. Humble yourself before God and pour out your heart to your Heavenly Father. Turn to Him for answers and for comfort. Pray in the name of Jesus Christ about your concerns, your fears, your weaknesses. Yes, the very longings of your heart, and then listen. Write the thoughts that come to your mind. Record your feelings and follow through with actions you are prompted to take. As you repeat this process day after day, month after month, year after year, you will grow into the principle of revelation. Now, that was in April 2018. And I go back to something Elder Callister said in October 2017. Recording spiritual promptings results in at least the following blessings. It preserves the integrity of the message. It preserves the feeling of the moment. It plants spiritual seeds. It facilitates future sharing. It enhances future revelation. President Nelson said, I urge you to stretch beyond your current spiritual ability to receive personal revelation. For the Lord has promised that if thou shalt seek, thou shalt receive revelation upon revelation, knowledge upon knowledge, that thou mayest know the mysteries and peaceable things, that which bring joy, that which bring a life eternal. Oh, there is so much more your Father in heaven wants you to know. So some ideas that I've shared for teaching. Maybe it's off a little on the screen a little bit. Draw Lehigh's dream. Compare your pictures or your family pictures or your class's pictures with other artists. You can compare it with the church's new video. Maybe draw and see what you missed, and then draw yourself, and you could draw your family, and you could draw your friends in Lehigh's dream. And that's why you can apply it to see where you are and talk about feeling the love of God. That's the price or prize you can feel today, and the price is being close to God. You can give an invitation to your family to share how you feel God's love in your life today with someone else, to help motivate them to feel the same and come to the tree of life. And you may say, after you felt God's love, what will you start today, or stop today, or continue? And I would just do my one plug. Sometimes we're so anxious to say, hey, you need to start doing this, or you need to stop doing this. So many of our fellow saints do so many good things. Maybe today what they need to do is continue. Continue to do what they've been doing yesterday and the day before, because as they continue to do that, they're on the right path. 4, pray, ponder, listen, record, and write, so as President Nelson encouraged us, that you too may grow into the principal revelation. Well, thank you for being a part of Brother Miller's Book of Mormon Notes. I hope you have a lovely day. Keep smiling.